Yeah, a lot of people seem to respond to it. I'm assuming it's on the one hand, it's the hands that pull you in, and then there's that shift into this abstraction. I mean, obviously that was the idea at the outset, and I'll be quite frank. When I look at it now, I realize maybe it's a little too 1-2. You know, realistic hands, abstract face, but that's besides the point. Once you make these paintings, you make them, and then you got to let them go, and that's something that I've come to terms with painting. So this is my friend Camille. I met her in Edmonton doing my master's. You'll see her in other paintings of mine. We had a party, and she was in the middle of a party, like many people, just being distracted by her phone. And I'm always aware of this. You know, I come from a generation that's pre-iPhone, pre-phone, So anyway, I guess I'm a little skeptical and critical of this kind of a constant absorption and consumption of this digital media a little bit. The romantic in me thinking like, let's just get together and talk. So anyway, it started out with this kind of, the idea being that, you know, people in general they live with the phone, it becomes one with them, and then, you know, when they stop at a light at a corner street, and without thinking, they pull out their phone waiting for the light to turn. I mean, that's how automatic and this is. And so it started out as a kind of critique of that. And I knew that the focal point would be the phone itself. And the face, what I wanted to do was, of course, have it be consumed by colors that were more artificial colors, less natural colors. So I use natural colors here, and these are more neon colors here. So I'm contrasting natural versus artificial colors, and I'm using actually pretty high voltage colors. So anyway, that's the initial concept, but there's another layer here, which is I'm thinking about absorption, and this is also about my own absorption as an artist. If you put a paintbrush in my hand with a bunch of bright colors, I also turn into that same person who's like absorbed into the paint. And so I started out by just doing a little bit of kind of glitch imagery on her face, and I couldn't stop. And this painting ended up being like more consumptive than I had initially intended. So it ends up being a lot about my own kind of absorption with the painting process. And so just back to the painting, what I love is this idea that people, while they're being distracted, say on the phone, they still get distracted within the distraction. So somebody will talk to them while they're on their phone. And then I love watching them struggle between the two. So you'll notice up close, we have the two eyes looking away. So she's not actually looking at her phone. She's not actually looking at her phone.
Even though the body language is kind of oriented towards the phone.
Exactly. And the hunch is about the computer, like the new what do they call that? The new, everybody sits today. There's a phrase to describe this. The new problem with physiotherapists is that the people are sitting and they have all these sitting injuries. People sitting on their computer. So the shoulders turned like this are very, very important. Yeah. And then there's just another little subtle point that maybe doesn't show up so clear in this painting, but you'll notice a dark space here and here. There's a triangle. So if you look at my other paintings, you're going to see the same triangle and around, and it's basically I'm portraying a kind of ghost figure. So it's this idea that there's another thing going on while all this is happening, and it's this idea that in the way that like our phones might be giving us hip cancer, or
the unknown ghost behind it.
Yeah, and
the who knows what.
The who knows what. There's a certain something, but it's always there. So it has a haunting quality. So I wanted that to be there, but I made sure it was very, very subtle. But so there is this sort of ghost figure. Well, it's a decentering device. If you think of the romantic idea of being in nature, you're one with nature. And so there's this absorption into nature, but somehow that's more, I don't know, natural. And then there's this absorption into the digital, and so the colors of the digital become her. They literally form her flesh, and they reveal this ghostly figure that's always there the whole time. To paint about the digital is kind of like making a sculpture with clay, and you're depicting glass, or you're going to use stone to make fabric. So there's a translation problem. And I love the slowness of painting. The way, like, paintings in my studio, they grow for months, sometimes years. I have a few in here that have been around for years, filled paintings one on top of the other. And that is like hanging out in the woods for me. It's like it's a slower process. You got to slow down. And with the digital, of course, it's a different drug, right? It's a different beast. So, I mean, and the other thing is I want to make sure not to be overly critical and hammer the point over the head. So I wanted to show that maybe there's a romantic aspect to using your phone. So this is there's a little bit like but this contemporary romance. It's like the colors are a little off. Maybe there's a little neon green, a little bit of like nuclear fallout, acid yellow. It's like, there's another little subcontext here. You'll notice a predominant green here. In painting, we use painter's tape, which is green tape. It's this particular green, very similar. And oftentimes in painting, you put the green tape on while you're cutting something out or something. 9 times out of 10, the painting improves because of this negation, this mark that covers something. And so this painting, when I started, the green was the very first thing I started splotching around as a way to negate, to knock back the face. And so this is also about tape. Because I've become consumed about tape. Well, you'll notice in all my paintings this green theme. And the green theme relates to the green screen. Of the origin of all computer graphics is the green screen. And I used to act in commercials, so I used to do things in front of the green screen all the time. And I always thought, wow, I'm like in front of a blank canvas now. So I link green screen and the color green with digital origins of all that comes in the digital world starts with the color green. So the green is important, and you'll notice a predominance of green for that. And this is me mimicking kind of pieces of tape and their shadows kind of thing, you know? Because the shadows cast from the tape is something that I thought covering. So yeah, you're on your way? Okay. All right, we'll see ya.